My ancestors were involved in the early church history in the 1800s. So I was raised very religiously. The LDS Church had been scamming me and my family for literally generations.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. I'm Aisha Rosalie. We just had like a ton of interruptions with my daughter coming in, so like things are a bit crazy right now, but alhamdulillah. I'm joined with Elina Brown, who is a convert to Islam and has an amazing story to share, inshallah. I've seen you on quite a lot of different places and I follow you on Instagram and I love your content. You live in Kuwait, you have such amazing content, mashallah. And yeah, I'm so excited to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
No, thank you. Honestly, I was so excited when you said you were going to do this because not only have you converted to Islam, but you've also moved your entire life to a Muslim country. SubhanAllah, like that, I feel like that's a dream for a lot of us, but it's also something that's very scary. And I think a lot of people have questions about that. So it's going to be amazing to sort of find out what it's like living in a Muslim country and everything as well. Alhamdulillah. Okay, let's start where I always start off with what religion were you before you discovered Islam?
So I come from a Mormon family, very religious, and so it's also known as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so I was raised very religiously, and my whole family background is pretty Mormon. Like my ancestors were involved in the early church history in the 1800s. Some of my relatives were pioneers. So very Mormon. And so we would pray every day, read the scriptures every day, go to church every Sunday for 3 hours. We would have youth activities throughout the week, church sports, youth summer camps. It was a lot.
Wow, so you had a very solid religious upbringing, mashallah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, very religious. And it's a high demand religion, and it's under the realm of Christianity.
Okay. Yes, there is a musical, I think, about it. I
Yeah,
saw
that's the one.
I saw it before becoming Muslim, guys. Okay, I saw it before becoming Muslim. But yeah, it is from my understanding, it is a lot more stricter than like normal Christianity.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So growing up, did you find yourself loving your faith or did you find yourself sort of like against it?
Um, some highs, some lows. Sometimes I was really into it and I had like a strong testimony, I would say. But a lot of times it was just like, wow, this is boring. Like, this church meeting is very boring and I don't want to be here, but I'm forced to. So, yeah. And I was always trying to like push the boundaries growing up. Like trying to wear shorter skirts and tighter clothes, like push the boundaries of modesty. And and then when I was 18, I finally stopped going and I quit. And I was the first one in my family to. And so that was pretty freeing.
Oh wow. Okay, so from my understanding then, so Mormons, they have like a certain level of modesty as well when it comes to clothing.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So what at 18 made you sort of start straying?
So I I realized that the LDS Church had been scamming me and my family for literally generations, and they have shady practices, and I could not be a part of it anymore.
Oh wow. Like, do you mind going into what the scam was? I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to.
Um, I won't go too much into it, but
Okay.
yeah, people should look into it and the early church history too, because there's a lot of shady stuff.
Oh wow. Okay. So like that the actions of those people made you sort of retract from the religion in general.
Well, yeah, just what the heads of the church are doing, and yeah.
Okay. How did your family react to you sort of taking that stance?
Well, since I was the first one to stop going, I think they were surprised, but they soon followed. So my mom is pretty much the only one who's still active in the church.
Oh wow, subhanallah. Okay, so it's like an entire family movement, mashallah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so from that kind of upbringing, how did you first hear about Islam?
Well, I remember like learning about it in school a little bit, and my dad had some Muslim friends, and but I didn't know too much about Islam until I met my now husband Jamal.
Mm.
And so we really learned about, or he taught me a lot about Islam. I learned about it through him, and also about Muslim culture and Kuwait, because he's from Kuwait and he's Muslim.
Okay. When you first met him and he told you that he was Muslim, did you have any kind of preconceptions?
Well, although before I met him, I thought that Islam was like a violent and oppressive religion. I wasn't put off by the fact that he was Muslim. I was actually very curious.
Mhm.
And at that point, I just wanted to like meet new people and learn more about the world and learn a new language. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, I was really curious and I was very interested.
Okay, interesting. So, what was that journey like for you of him introducing Islam to you? Like, how does he introduce it to you, and how was that journey up until your Shahada? What did that look like?
So we would we would learn about it together. Like he would read the Quran and he would just tell me about it, and we would listen to tafsir videos together, like explanations of it,
Mhm.
and it was pretty interesting. And I listened to the Quran in English because I wanted to know more about my husband's religion, but I didn't really get much out of it at that first listen because I was just listening to it just to get the gist of it, pretty much, and to say that I
Yeah.
did it. Um, and then I became more and more curious about Muslim culture, and I would go on TikTok and I would see these videos of hijabis dressed super fashionably and so confident in their faith. And that really impacted me because growing up Mormon, like I said, I was always trying to push the boundaries,
Mhm.
and modesty seemed outdated and frumpy, and like for older women. I didn't get it. But then seeing how Muslim women dress, I thought, wow, this is so interesting. And
Mhm.
so I tried hijab in preparation to sign our wedding contract in an imam's
Mhm.
house. So
Mhm.
I ordered one with a pretty long, flowy, modest dress, and I felt so wholesome and purified wearing it. I felt like an angel, and I got emotional, and I didn't want to take it off the rest of the day. And so that's when I really fell in love with hijab, and I even started going out wearing it sometimes, not religiously, but just because I loved the feeling. And it was like a guard for me, a way to keep my thoughts pure and make sure that I'm living a wholesome life. And I also fasted for Ramadan with him, which was challenging, but it was a great experience. And then summer of 2022, we visited Kuwait for the first time, and I got to meet all of his family. We had our dream wedding, and my expectations were blown away. Like his family just embraced me with open arms, and I experienced such generosity and hospitality, and it really impacted me because I got to see how Muslims really live and what a what living in a Muslim country is like. You know, in the US and, you know, in the West, there's a lot of stereotypes perpetrated
Yeah.
by the Western media. And so it was really cool to actually be here and experience it and realize that a lot of the things that I had seen or heard about Islam and Muslims growing up were false.
Yeah.
So then after visiting Kuwait, we moved back to the US so that my husband could do his master's degree.
Mhm.
and he was more interested in religion at that point, like more interested in Islam, reading more Quran after spending the summer in Kuwait. And I also wanted to get this area of my life figured out too. I wanted to connect more with God because I still considered myself to be like loosely Christian, just kind of like a do good, be good, you'll be fine. But yeah, so I was reading the Bible and listening to a lot of Christian worship music. He was reading the Quran, and we would have long discussions about things, about the similarities and differences between Christianity and Islam. And it was pretty interesting. And then bit by bit, I realized that I couldn't explain my beliefs, like about Jesus and God. And the more that we talked about it, I realized that it didn't really make sense to me. It was just what I had been taught. And then slowly, as I started to go deep into the Quran and learn more about the context behind things and watching those tafsir videos, the concept of one singular, all-powerful creator of all things, that started to make sense to me, whereas Christianity didn't, and I wasn't connecting with the Bible, and I would find contradicting passages and stories that were super confusing. I just didn't resonate with it like I did with the Quran. And I would listen to a lot of Quran, and it would bring me great peace and calm. So yeah.
SubhanAllah. I always do feel like if you're presented with Christianity and Islam, and if you're someone that has zero experience of both, Islam will always make way more sense than Christianity.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like logically, yeah. Mashallah. What an amazing journey. I love the fact that you had the whole hijab experience, because I had that as well as a non-Muslim, putting on hijab for the first time and just kind of like not wanting to take it off.
Yeah.
And sort of experiencing a different version of myself that I hadn't experienced before whilst wearing it. I had all that, and I love it when people have experiences of meeting Muslims with amazing character, and that makes them interested in the religion because of that character. So like your husband's family, your husband and everything, mashallah. So that's so beautiful. So where did you take your Shahada, and what was that experience like?
It was a wonderful day. It was in Utah, where we were living at the time, at a mosque nearby our house. And Jamal and I went, and yeah, it was a small, modest mosque. And he walked in at first to like touch base with the imam, and then I came in a few minutes later, and the imam had me introduce myself, and he asked me what religion I was, and if I had read Quran or not, and what stood out to me about it. And then I repeated the Shahada after him. And then he explained to me that all of my previous sins were forgiven, and that I was, in a sense, starting over, and my slate was clean. And so that was a wonderful, wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah. So how did you approach telling your family, and how did your family react to that?
So the day that I took my Shahada, before I did, I called my dad and told him that I was going to, and he was surprised, and he was also like very supportive. He was like excited for me, like, oh, how are we gonna celebrate? We should have a party tonight. Like, I wish that I could be there. So I love that his response was so positive like that. And then I also called my mom. She was surprised. But yeah, she's been very nice. And then my sister Lizzie, who I told after I took my Shahada, she told me that she was also surprised, but she thought that it was cool. And subhanAllah, she has also become Muslim now.
SubhanAllah. Wow, that's amazing, mashallah. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's going down on your deeds right there. SubhanAllah. Okay, so you had a positive reaction. Did you have any kind of negativity? Like, I know when I became Muslim, I got sort of like random messages on Facebook from people that I didn't really know very well, saying like, have you been abducted by ISIS and things like this? Like, did you get anything like weird going on?
So I was off social media at that time, but at my work, I would get lots of weird comments and stares, and people wouldn't want to talk to me.
Mhm.
And so that was pretty demoralizing and confusing because I knew that it was because I was wearing hijab and
Yeah.
because they were totally put off by it. And yeah, so that was confusing. But other than that, like I was pretty confident and I was doing my thing. I was confident in my new faith.
Mhm. Subhanallah. Now, now as a Muslim, looking back on your life before, do you feel like there are some do you feel like there are some teachings in Islam that have really sort of changed your perspective on the world from that person that you were before?
Well, I love the concept of modesty in Islam and how it's not just one-sided. Like it talks about men like lowering your gaze, guarding your chastity, and then women, how we dress and our character and our decorum. And so that's one of my favorite things about Islam and being Muslim. And yeah, I've really transformed in that regard.
Mashallah. What would you say to the people that say the way you dress is oppression?
It's not like I've I've unshackled myself from society's beauty standards, and wearing hijab is freeing. It's freeing.
Mashallah. I love that. That was an amazing answer, mashallah. So let's just touch on Kuwait quickly. So what's it like living in Kuwait? What was that move like? And yeah, what was moving to Kuwait like? Let's start there.
It's awesome. I'm totally loving it here. And yeah, it's fun because a lot of things are new and I get to explore. And before I met Jamal, I was feeling pretty like cooped up living in Utah, and I really wanted to get out and explore and learn a new language, and so now it's like I'm doing it. I'm in a whole new country, and I'm learning a lot, learning some Arabic and making new friends, and yeah, I'm absolutely loving it.
How do people in Kuwait react to you when they see you?
Um, like just people in general, or like Jamal's family?
Just people in general, like, do they notice that you're a revert? So people think I'm Syrian sometimes, but do they notice you're a revert? And are they excited about the fact that you're a revert? Like, do you get approached by strangers and things like that?
Um, yeah, I think they can tell that I'm obviously not from here and that
Yeah,
I'm probably a revert. And I do get people approach me now who know me from social media. So
mashallah.
yeah.
Yeah, and they're like always very like friendly and welcoming.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
love
love the
that
vibe
side.
here, and it's so wholesome.
Mm, I
And my
love that
parents
side.
commented on that too when they visited. Said, yeah, it's very peaceful, very wholesome. And my parents
Mashallah.
and family had a great experience visiting here too.
Mashallah. That's amazing. I haven't been to Kuwait, but I've heard great things. Before Islam, did you try out any other religions or was it just Islam?
Yes. So, in the process of trying to find the truth, I was trying out different churches in the Salt Lake City area with my sister Lizzie, and we tried out a Pentecostal one. We weren't really vibing with that one. We tried out a liberal Christian one, which was fun. Like they had like popcorn, coffee, watched movies. Like it was a very stark difference from growing up Mormon. So
Mhm.
it was fun, but like it was kind of a joke. And and then yeah, I remember sitting on my bed one Sunday morning thinking, should I go to church? Like I don't know if I believe in this. Like
Mm,
I don't know what I believe and what I should do. And I didn't end up going, and then I ended up like learning more about Islam, and yeah.
mashallah. Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. I mean, I was very similar in the sense that I didn't really go into Christianity because I never really connected with it, but I looked into like Hinduism and Buddhism and these kind of like Hare Krishna things. I tried all those.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's fun. I like stroking the cows, but that was it. Alhamdulillah. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on and doing this. It's even for me as a revert, I find it so inspirational, like hearing these revert stories. I feel like it sort of ignites something inside of me, and absolutely love it. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll link all your socials and everything so people can check it out. Make sure you guys check out Alina Brown's social media. I've got your Instagram. Are you on YouTube or not?
A little bit.
A little
Not
bit. I'll link your YouTube as well.
okay.
Check out her little bit of YouTube. I'm sure it's great. But
Okay,
yeah, thank
thank
you
you so
guys.
much.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you guys for watching. Assalamu alaikum.